How are the first few days going?
Yeah, it's been exciting. Certainly getting around campus, having students on campus now on the third day of classes, that's exciting. But just getting to meet all the right people, the deans, my cabinet, spending time with the trustees, a lot of time just learning more and more, listening, and understanding this organization.
Yeah, and you had quite the legacy at the University of Nebraska system. What are some things that you accomplished there that you think would fit very well into OSU?
Well, the thing I cared about most when I went to Nebraska was student success. We saw graduation rates increase. We started a program called Nebraska Promise for middle income and lower income students. So I know I bring that idea of making student success our top priority. And then just being fiscally conservative. We had some financial challenges in Nebraska, mostly due to enrollment decreases and the cost of goods and services. Don't have the exact same problem here, but we do have to be smart about how we spend our money. So I'll bring some of those things here. And then just understanding large organizational enterprises and being able to deal with the legislature. I dealt with the legislature quite a bit in Nebraska, and I'm looking forward to engaging the General Assembly here.
Yeah, and it's no secret that higher education is going through a massive change right now.
Right.
We're seeing small private colleges close and even bigger institutions deal with declining enrollment. How do you envision being able to shape things as those changes come down?
Yeah, I believe Ohio State University is uniquely positioned to change the narrative about what the current and the future of post-secondary or higher education is. At the end of the day, it's about student experience, it's about the value of the degree, what it means for the rest of your lifetime. These are things that we know are important. And when you look at what the future landscape of the job market is, the job market is going to require more post-secondary degrees, not less, in the next 10 to 15 years. So we haven't really captured that part of the narrative. And then, the other parts that we do here that are so important is the clinical care, the medical research that we do. The rest of the research arm of the university, which is one of the top 10 in the country. And then just making sure that we continue to be at the top of our game in terms of our Division I athletics. It's a really important part of our mission here.
Yeah, and you mentioned working with the legislature right now. The legislature's got a few bills out there, one that would kind of eliminate certain discourse on campus. What they're talking about, and from your experience in Nebraska, what are some of the things that are important to having a campus culture?
Well, you got to make sure that you're welcoming to all people and make sure that people know that all voices can be heard. And, I wore the cloth of the nation for 38 years as a naval officer. I supported and defended the Constitution of the United States, and I very, very firmly believe in the First Amendment. That freedom of speech is so important, and we want to have that here at this campus. Even when it comes to protests, we should be celebrating the fact that we live in a country where young people can express their opinions and have a voice.
Mm-hmm. And OSU right now, I think we were looking that 29% of the student body are people of color. It's a very heavily Caucasian university. How do you see a future of diversifying the university?
Well, when it comes to how you change diversity, first of all, you just have to create a welcoming and open campus. You can't force it. And of course, the Supreme Court has even legislated that. You can't apply affirmative action to applications. But more importantly than how you invite and make people of all different diverse backgrounds want to come to a campus like this, you've got to make sure they're successful. And that's really the most important part. And we'll continue to work on that, whether it be who we hire to work here and the students we attract here.
Yeah, and some of that ties into the program you mentioned out of Nebraska for lower income, middle income students. There's a lot of help for some of these first generation students a lot of time that they need that extra support in pushing through. What does that look like?
Well, of course, I'd like to think that we are the campus for all Ohioans. We have 5 regional campuses that are very strong, and they're open in enrollment, so anybody can go there. And if you go there and perform well, you can get accepted here to the Columbus campus. So I think it's a very exciting program, one that I'd like to advertise a little bit more. This is a top flight program. It's not easy to get into Ohio State these days, but we want to make sure that people know that if they really want to come to Ohio State, we'll find a way to get them here.
Kind of going back to what we were talking about with the everybody needs to have a voice and a place to go. Senate Bill 117 is talking about having conservative safe spaces. Do you think there needs to be special spaces on campus, or should it just be a little more open?
Personally, I'd rather prefer that it was more open, and that we wouldn't have to have things legislated against us to do the right things. But again, when laws are passed, we'll follow them, and we'll make sure that we comply, and we'll do the right things for the right reasons.
And of course, national discourse has been that there's been a lot of talk that universities, are trying to instill liberal values. And in your position, is that at all factual?
That's a narrative out there. I did not feel that I saw that in Nebraska, and although I've only been on campus here 2 weeks, I suspect that I won't see that here. This is the challenge with how we want to continue to support academic freedom, and what that's all about is giving those faculty members the freedom to have a discussion, not impose any theories or force anything on our students. We don't tell students what to think. We tell students how to think, and that's the most important value that we can give to all of our students.
Yeah, and Ohio is one of the premier research institutions in the country. How do you go about recruiting some of the top researchers in order to keep that status? How do you keep them here?
Yeah, well, success breeds success. And when you look at some of the things that we're doing here, the innovation that's happening here, the expansion, talking about bringing Intel and semiconductor production here, the opportunities are endless. And we want to make sure that we're doing relevant research, not just for the benefit of Ohioans, but for all of our people here in the United States and the world.
I guess I do want to touch on your military background too. It's kind of a big departure from some of the past presidents we've seen, is you've got this highly decorated military background. How do you believe that makes you prepared to lead this university?
Well, the thing I achieved in my military background was leading really large, complex organizations. I think people can imagine what it might be like to live on an aircraft carrier, but when you're in charge of an aircraft carrier and then sometimes 20, 30 ships all around spread out by thousands of miles, how do you manage to get them to do their job? And you have to empower them, make sure that they're resourced correctly, and make sure that you entrust them with knowing what their mission is. That is not unlike running a major complex organization like Ohio State with 65,000 students, 35,000 faculty, staff here, and then 5 regional campuses, extension in all 88 counties. So we are spread out. We touch the entire state. So I find my leadership style will work here because I don't have to tell people what or how to do it. People might think in the military we just give orders and people do it. That's not how it works. You have to show people what it is in their right best interest to do their job, and let them go do it.
Mm-hmm. And the Board of Trustees wields a lot of power at the university. Are you someone that if they put down something that you don't always fully agree with, will you push back?
I think disagreement is a sign of a healthy organization. They trusted me enough to bring me here and want me to do this job. I've engaged with all of the trustees. I'm getting to know some of them better than just the first couple of meetings. And I got to tell your audience that we have an amazing group of trustees, incredibly talented, one of the most talented groups I've ever experienced. So I'm looking forward to working with them. I will not be shy about giving my opinion about what right looks like.
And I know that the Wexners had removed themselves, for the most part, from the university about a decade ago. But with yesterday, new documents being dropped, new accusations against Les Wexner regarding the Jeffrey Epstein case, they still do have a lot of ties to the university. Is that something that you're looking at?
Well, first, the Wexners have been wonderful philanthropic partners for this university, and we won't forget that. I read those unveilings, if you will, just like everybody else. And there's a lot of other names, so I want to be cautious not to jump to any conclusions. Let's wait till more facts come out. I've had a chance to meet Mr. Wexner, and I'm very thankful for what he's done here with the university.
And as you were telling me, is when kind of the first, some first trials came out, and the university had gotten some money from Epstein himself, the university had done kind of a dollar for dollar match to, I guess, make amends. Is that something that, if there is more to that, that would be something that you would consider looking into?
We'd certainly look into it, but yeah, the university's done the right things with money that came from the Epstein Foundation, return it back to the Attorney General's office for human trafficking initiatives, and I'm proud of what they did there.
Gotcha. And then yesterday, unfortunately, we had a student death on campus. It's a tragedy to happen, but for the family out there, for the classmates, and the OSU community, what do you have to say?
Well, anytime a student death happens, it's tragic, it's sad. The first thing we do is we take care of the family, their friends. We've reached out to the family, they've asked for privacy, and our team is exceptional at taking care of all those needs.
What else is really on your mind right now as we lead OSU into 2024? It's a brand new year.
Yeah, hired a new athletic director, so that's front of mind. That's a big deal. Changing landscape of sports, that's going to really be complicated going forward. It's a lot of changes going to happen the next 2 years there. I'm going to be hiring a new provost, so that's another important hire. So you know, the talent management part of this job is really important, and I'm not unfamiliar with that. I had to do a lot of that in Nebraska. We've got a great team that's doing the work there, and I get to build, you know, the team here. So excited to get going.
And name, image, and likeness is one of those things that's really changing sports. It dramatically changed University of Iowa, and I'm sure it'll play a big part in OSU. How do you handle that?
You know, it's still a little bit of the wild, wild west. You got to make sure you know the rules. You know, how you work with collectives and the athletic department. I think there's going to be more changes coming to that, probably some legislation coming. But the good news is I'm glad that we're supporting student athletes in this way. It's an exciting time to be a student athlete. As you know, we have 1,000 student athletes here, more than most any campus in the country. So we care about all these things a great deal.
And campus safety has been a big topic of discussion for several years now. And we know that a lot of the crime happens not on campus, but the neighborhood surrounding campus. So it falls outside of OSU's jurisdiction, but how do you maintain partnerships? How do you build a partnership to ensure that the large student body feels safe coming to Columbus, coming to OSU, and it ensures their families that their student will be okay?
Yeah. It's one of my top priorities, safety and security. It's part of the student experience here. And as you point out, a lot of our students don't live on campus. So I feel that we still have a responsibility to coordinate, collaborate with Columbus City Police Force. You know, the governor and I had lunch yesterday. We talked about this very thing, about how important it is to do that. We have already invested more resources into this, you know, security cameras, license plate readers, more patrols that are not armed but can, you know, diffuse a bad situation. But we also have to go beyond that and talk to landlords of some of these apartment complexes, make sure the lighting is right, and make sure it's in their best interest to protect our students. And we're going to continue to explore that and do everything we can.
And last semester, kind of staying in the vein of safety, there were a couple incidents involving actions against Jewish students, Palestinian students, as that discourse continues to heat up. What is your message to that student body?
Well, we will always support First Amendment rights, but when that speech turns into anything that can escalate or incite violence, bigotry, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, we will not have tolerance for that, and we'll hold people accountable. And we have, and we'll continue to do that. I'll be very strong on that.